I'm Keith Pearce, a former Wanneroo councillor, and I want to talk to you about the proposal to build 17 groynes along the short stretch of coast from the Hillry's Marina through to the north point of Mullaloo Beach. Now, we're told that 17 groynes across that area is required because there is a little bit of erosion on Pinaroo Point. Now, there are two ways you can solve erosion problems. One is you can build groynes, and the other is you can build islands or reef platforms. And what I'm going to do is show you the physical evidence of how each of these two systems work. But what I want you to think about at the moment is, if there's erosion in one point along that stretch of coast, why do they want to build 17 groynes? Of course, the answer is they know groynes don't work. And when I'm finished showing you the physical evidence, you will understand why they want to build a whole series of groynes, because they know very well groynes do not work. The picture behind me is the island that the Wanneroo Council built to stop the erosion on Quinns Point more than 50 years ago. More than 50 years that's been there, and it's worked well. Because I'll show you a picture that demonstrates just how well that has worked. Okay, alongside me is this photograph taken from the walkway down to the island behind me, showing the dunes running south, which is where the sand's coming from, where the erosion problem was. And you can see the dune, the old dune there. Then you can see the little dunes, the new dunes with the new growth down the bottom there, and then the beach. So you can see that in that 50 years, the island has created a fair amount of aggregation of sand and has completely removed the erosion problem that it was built to stop. It's worked well. In fact, it worked too well. It worked so well that the beach is built out, as you can see from the picture behind me, to reach the island. So now the island is acting like the head of a groyne. It's stopping the sand moving through. Now, what groynes do is they stop the sand movement from south to north, and that means there's erosion on the north side of the groyne. And so that's what's happening here. There's now erosion around the corner onto the north side of Quinns Point. Now, I don't have an engineering degree, and what I would have done is I would have gone out with a truck and a crane, and I would have lifted the rocks off the top of that island, brought the island down to sea level so the water could roll over the island and keep the sand moving north. It would now become a reef platform, but what it would do is it would retain the soil or the sand south by the tombola action, which would be not as significant around a reef platform as it is around an island, but it would still be there. And so that would allow the sand to go through. That would now solve the erosion problem around the corner that was caused by the island. But that's not what the people with the degrees did. They built groynes. So what I'll do now is I'll show you how successful their groynes have been, and you consider then, if this is how successful their groynes are here, how successful are they going to be when they build them all the way from Hillry's Marina through to the north of Mullaloo. The picture behind me is the first of the groynes that they built to stop the erosion that was created by the island the council built, turning into effectively a groyne. This has been here for about 5 years. So let's have a look at what it actually did. Well, the pictures alongside me here show what the groyne has done. The view is from there south towards Fremantle and down towards the island. If you see on the top picture, you can see the black circle, and on the bottom picture is an enlargement of that area, which shows a gentleman walking past the rocks on the beach. Those rocks on the beach is the island that the council built. So you can see how that is formed like a groyne. Now, as I said, this groyne has been here for some 5 years, and if you have a look, you can see they've had to sandbag all the way along the base of the dunes to protect the dunes from the erosion that this groyne is not stopping. And the reason this groyne is not stopping the erosion is because there is no accretion of sand, and the reason there's no accretion of sand is because of the island that the council built, forming a groyne. Now, had the people with the engineering qualifications gone out and removed the rocks off the top of that island, it would have allowed the sand to come around the point and aggregate in this area and remove the erosion. This groyne has absolutely done nothing. Now, the next picture that I'll show you will be what happens on the northern side of this groyne. So that's going to be interesting. Okay, so the picture alongside me now is a picture of what's happening on the northern side of the groyne. More erosion. Any sand that washes away from that area will not be replaced for two reasons. One is because there's no sand coming down the beach on the southern side, and the other reason is even if there was, this groyne would stop that sand from adding to that area. So the groyne is creating erosion on the northern side, and that erosion will continue unabated with no sand replacement because this groyne is stopping the sand replacement. Now, if you think this is bad, wait until I show you what's happening at the northern end with the furthest groyne up north that they've built. Well, we're now about to talk about the northern groyne. The picture behind me is still the southern groyne, but the pictures alongside me are taken from the northern groyne looking south towards the other three groynes. Now, the south side of a groyne is where the sand is supposed to accrete, because that's the sand movement comes from south to north. As you can see from the top picture, there is no sand accretion. There is actually massive erosion. So this groyne is doing absolutely nothing. In fact, it's doing worse than nothing. If you look at the bottom picture, you will see it has actually become a seaweed catcher. So this is just going to create a smell problem for the people who live in the area. Now, if you're quite happy to see the beaches between the Hillry's Marina and the north point of Mullaloo Beach end up looking like this, or parts of them anyway, then you don't have to do anything, because that's what the Plan 17 groynes will provide. That's what it'll bring to the area. On the other hand, if you want to see those beaches kept in the pristine condition that they are now, then you need to actually do something. And what you need to do is you need to put in a submission. It doesn't have to be a very big submission, because the councillors who make the decision don't actually get to read the submission. They just get there were so many for, so many submissions against, and a brief overview of what is seen by the officers as being the key points in the submissions. Now, depending on which way the officers want the council to go, how that document turns out. So you can't rely upon submissions. What you need to do is contact the councillors direct, and you can do that by going onto the City of Joondalup website, and you'll find that you've got two councillors. If you live in the city, you've got two councillors in your ward. Find out what ward you're in. Go on there. You can look up their name and their email address. So email the councillors, email the mayor. If you live outside the City of Joondalup, just email random councillors and email the mayor and say you don't want to see the beaches along there destroyed by groynes in the way the groynes have destroyed the beaches at Quinns Rocks. And more importantly, say you want a proper study of how islands or reef platforms could be used to mitigate what erosion there is at Pinaroo Point, and could be used, if necessary, at any other points along that section of coast at a later date. And you need to ask for community participation in that study so that we can make sure that the study is a genuine study and isn't a study that's determined to get a predetermined outcome. So if you want to see those beaches remain as they are, then that really is what you need to do, and we would really appreciate your support in doing that. I hope you enjoyed my talk. I hope you found the information in it interesting and useful, and thanks very much for watching.